The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger, the Dragons Insider, blogger of Inside the OAA, one of the hosts of Tween Terminus, and also one of the hosts of Last Three Brain Cells on Orion Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome those hearing us on the local voice on SoundCloud, those watching on Facebook Live, also keeping an eye on and also watching us on
We're on everything.
We're on everything now, which is good. Beautiful.
Busy.
Yes, it's a beautiful sunny day.
Oh, what a difference from Friday, man.
Yeah, that was a rain fest.
Weather soggy.
Ugh.
It rained all stinking day.
Yes, it did.
And we had those football games, the playoff, first round.
Regionals.
I was over at the MHSA Region 9, which had a lot of OA teams in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was walking through a mud bog. It was the worst conditions I've ever seen, Sam. And I've been to a lot of these for, I think, 10 years now.
The rain
it
and
was
the
horrible.
Wind, the rain and the wind just played a lot.
Yeah, it was just ugly. Today, beautiful day.
Today's a beautiful day. You know, we got volleyball districts this week, obviously, so that'll be really interesting to see how volleyball does. I wrote a column on why Birmingham Marion needs to be on upset alert.
Uh-oh.
And also, we got to talk a certain football team on Oxford Road. We got to do that today. We got to talk West
yes,
Bloomfield.
we do.
Yep, and then we got a lot of games we got to recap from this week, and I'll give you my thoughts on those along with you, Ian. Let's do the recap. Here we go.
Do the best I can. Okay, here's the roundup. All right, we are leading off with the top story of what transpired on the gridiron last Friday night in the rain all over Oakland County.
Mm-hmm.
Oxford goes in on the road to Clarkston and takes the W 38-28 in a shocker. Should we say it's a shocker?
Yeah, it was a head scratcher.
A head scratcher.
I did find out the official stat total for Mr. Vaccaro.
Okay, so one Sal Vaccaro went ham during this game.
Yes, he did.
309 yards rushing.
Yup.
4 touchdowns. Brady Carpenter had 22-yard passing TD to Trent Meyer. Joe Cady had a 47-yard field goal for Oxford in those conditions.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Mike DePillo, 2 rushing touchdowns. Ethan Clark, only 12 rushing yards all day and a TD. Desmond Stevens, 10-yard TD off a reverse for Clarkston. We're going to dig into that game. We have to dissect that game.
Have to dissect that game.
All right, moving on. West Bloomfield welcomed in Novi to the Swamp.
I was at that game.
And took care of them 39-3.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Jones, again, getting the job done. 82 rushing yards and a touchdown. Raekwon Nance, 147 yards through the air, 105 rushing, 2 passing TDs, both to Smaj Morgan. Dylan Tatum, 2 rushing TDs for West Bloomfield.
Mm-hmm.
Novi Detroit Catholic Central came into Bloomfield Hills and laid the lumber 51-7 in the rout. C.J. Jackson had a 3-yard passing TD to Andrew Serprisky for Bloomfield Hills. Waterford, Mott, and Berkeley were going toe-to-toe, throwing haymakers, but it was the Corsairs who came on top in overtime, 19-13. Murren Dover, 13-yard rushing TD for Berkeley. Caleb Osborne, three rushing TDs for Waterford Mott, and it was a touchdown in overtime after a blocked field goal attempt by Berkeley.
Yep.
Chippewa Valley and Troy went toe-to-toe, and again, the OAA falls. Chippewa Valley 33-0 over Troy. River Rouge, Harper Woods. We knew this was going to be a tight game, and it was. River Rouge 14-6 over Harper Woods in overtime. We said that would be about a 7-point game.
Yep.
And so Harper Woods goes down. Birmingham Brother Rice, Avondale at Wisner?
Yep, at Wisner.
Right, so we thought they were going to be playing at Lawrence Tech.
Yeah.
So they were at Wisner Stadium. That legendary stadium saw a beatdown of epic proportions as Birmingham Brother Rice takes down Avondale 58-0.
Ouch.
It was an ouch. Again, this was the other marquee game. We were looking forward to this one. Thought it would be a nail biter, a toe tapper, one of those things. Adams, 42-20 over Lapeer. Rochester Adams had 5 different players with rushing scores. Parker Pico, 2 rushing touchdowns, 8 and 1 yard out. Marco DeCerci, 13 yard rushing touchdown. Griffin Henke had a 38-yard rushing touchdown. Logan Patera, 9-yard rushing touchdown for Adams. Adams showed up huge. It was the weather and the conditions. They were playing at home, and boy, did they roll up here. It wasn't even as close as 42-20.
And you passed by that road. You passed by and saw that game.
Yep, came by, saw that score. It was still a shutout at that point. It wasn't 42, and I think it was in the first half. But you're like, whoa, thought it'd be closer. But anyway, that's the OAA Roundup.
Lot to digest out of that.
Yes, and in the pre-show, we were chatting and things. We should have been recording it. I'll just say that because all these different revelations were popping up as we were chatting about what did we just see on Friday. What happened?
Well,
and where do you want to go first? I mean, we've got Adams, we got blowouts, we have surprise wins, we have amazing performances. Where do you want to go?
Well, let's go with the big story. Obviously, I mean, obviously, the game at Clarkston really was the one that really put a lot of head scratchers. Was when you look at that game, I mean, Salvacaro. I mean, 309 rushing yards for a touchdown. Brady Carpenter passed the 22-yard touchdown pass to Tate Muir. I mean,
309 and 4 touchdowns
against that defense. On the road.
In ridiculous conditions, right? I mean, it wasn't like the end of the world type rain we've had here in Lake Orion. It was bad.
This is a team Oxford is right now playing with nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They have experienced everything you could think of. I know they have a lot of senior experience. They have a good quarterback. They're well coached in their Zach line.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look
and they have been improving.
Yes.
How did they get in the playoffs, Sammy?
That murderer's row schedule.
Yes, but how did they get in?
They beat people. Especially on the road.
They beat people on the road, but they had to win 4 or 5.
Yep.
To get in.
Right.
And these weren't cupcakes to get in.
No.
4 of 5 to make the playoffs.
They knocked off some really good teams. I mean, they knocked off Stony Creek. They knocked off Lake Orion. They knocked off A&T.
Yes.
Knocked off Chippewa Valley.
Yes.
And now you put Clarkson in here. And I mean, that's insane. You know what I mean? For that team to just go in there and just play with nothing to lose, and everything to gain. I mean, these kids are just gaining all that experience.
Well, experience, confidence.
Yes.
The momentum is in their back pocket.
I got to give credit.
They're playing loose.
I got to give credit to Oxford's line coach, Eric Guychuk.
Oh, absolutely.
I got to give credit to Eric Guychuk. Former offensive line coach at Lake Orion. He went to Oxford, was a Wildcat, played in the NFL. I mean, what he's been doing on that line up front. Now, it helps when they have a great line, a couple good linemen in Kiwani Burton and Landon Severn.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you look
But you have to put them in positions to be successful.
Yes, and I give credit to Guychuk. I give credit to line for putting him in that position to be successful.
Yes.
I mean, the only problem I have with Oxford right now still is their defense. I mean, they're still giving up over 28. I mean, but if you're scoring at a bunch, you know what I mean, then that might make up for your defensive issues. But they still got some issues defensively.
Well, defensively, but they held one of the most prolific running backs
Ethan Clark
in Clarkston history in Oakland County in OAA to, what was it?
He had a 12-yard rushing touchdown.
It wasn't 12 yards?
No.
Oh, okay. You threw me there, Sam. I was like, 12 yards?
Yeah, but they did do a very good job against Clark. I mean, let's not forget.
How many he's usually 3 touchdowns easy.
Yeah, they held him to 1. I mean, and that's insane. I mean, really, but you got to look at Oxford's run defense, their run defense has been really stout all year.
Yes.
I mean, and it really stout. I think, with the turnaround was that Lake Orion game where they figured some things out. Then their run defense has been very, very good.
It's very good, but they are moving the ball.
They are moving the ball.
They are the push they're getting. You need to share with everybody the breakdown of these 300 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
80 yards.
Yes.
76 yards.
Yep.
A 10-yard one.
Okay.
And a 9-yard one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Big plays.
Yep.
2 monsters, right? So that tells you the holes are there. The defense, they took advantage of the defense that Clarkson was throwing at them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was bad conditions. Are you going to be throwing the ball? Not necessarily. You're going to keep it on the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that defense tight in, you're susceptible to all he needed was a seam and he was gone.
Right.
And it happened twice.
Especially now when you look at a defense that has Caleb Stallworth on there, Kavanaugh Ditton on there, Desmond Stevens on there, and they get shredded for 38. That's the most they've allowed all season long. And for that defense to get exposed like that, that's not good.
It's been a very long time since we've seen that happen. I mean, the only time maybe, was it 3 years ago?
They got exposed by Grand Blanc last year in the postseason. The way they got.
Yes.
And then they got exposed. We know 2019, we know what happened there.
Yes. Yeah. And when Clarkson was kind of limping along, we're like, oh, with injuries and such. I mean, we saw this when injuries were a major problem for those guys.
Yes.
But at full strength, and wow, that was surprising. And the funny thing is, we're following on Twitter the updates.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, we were coming home from the MHSA regionals out in Anchor Bay. We're home at about 8:30. We're going through the backlog of the tweets, just trying to figure out what the score of the Clarkson game was. My wife teaches over there, so we follow them pretty religiously, as well as Lake Orion, and seeing what that score was. And the posting, it was going, well, guess what? Vaccaro has an Al Bundy type night going. And everybody knows, if you ever watch that show, what our age range, 30 on up or whatever, you know what that means. He was going ham. He was having one of those legendary games that will be remembered up the road at Oxford for years and years and years.
This is a big win for Oxford.
Huge.
This is monumental. And if you're Coach Jack Line, to win a game like this, and if you're Sal Vaccaro, you're going to be remembered for this the rest of your life.
Oh, forever.
I mean, forever.
They're talking about, yes, this is one of those games that you have, and in the playoffs, there's a lot at stake. The opponent is a rival. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're a state power, and you went in there and
you just went in there and beat them.
Just beat them.
And now, if on the Clarkson side, you're going to lose Mike DePillo.
Yeah.
John Call will likely be your starting quarterback next year over there. But losing a guy like DePillo, who had a really good year for them. In his 3 years there, Clarkson, taking over the reins in 2019. Then last year he had a really nice year. Then this year he had a really good year. People are gonna say at Clarkston this year, that for them it's state championship or bust, and people are gonna say it's a failed season over there. I don't want to necessarily think that is.
I don't think that.
But I know there's some folks down there up
there.
Well,
their expectations are different than a lot of other schools, right, Sam?
Mm-hmm. 3 state championships, that's a whole lot of expectations.
And the long runs in the tourney, in the playoffs.
Postseason, yeah.
So, yeah, that was the game. That was the one that we were I know you and I were really looking forward to it, besides the Adams Lapeer.
West Bloomfield Novi.
And West Bloomfield Novi. I mean, the big hitters, those are the ones we were watching out for. And this one, I don't want to say it didn't disappoint, but it opened a lot of eyes. And the thing too, look at this with Oxford, the way they're playing. We said this: I wouldn't want to go play them.
No,
play them at this time of year.
Heck no.
But I think the playoff format, or at least the seeding, helped them.
Do you think the schedule helped?
They're playing known opponents.
Right.
They've already had
They were
them.
built for this game. They were built to play Clarkston.
They've already played Clarkston.
They played it 3 times.
And who's their
times.
next opponent?
It's going to be Adams.
They know Adams. They've played them.
They know
They
what the
lost
Veer is.
both times.
They lost 24-10 this year.
Right? And they lost to Clarkston. They lost to Adams. But they corrected some problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the next round, Oxford and Adams, wow, very, very interesting. To use your phrase, very.
And then you look at let's go from Oxford now. I want to talk Adams Lapeer. This was a head scratcher.
Yes. We thought this would be much closer.
Especially considering who Lapeer had. I mean, obviously they had a big monster offensive line, big monster line up front.
Yep.
And then one of the best running backs in the state, Brady McKenna. And then what Adams' defense did basically was shut him down. I mean, held them, Adams was up 28-0, you know what I mean? Basically just, was in control. And I think to me that the difference was that the Veer showed up in that game. The Veer offense. Not a lot of teams in the Saginaw Valley have
run up against the Veer offense, like what Adams runs. And Lapeer found out the hard way, it's a very misillusion offense. It's a very illusion offense, you know what I mean? Yeah.
What Adams runs, obviously.
Yeah. It's even for camera operators. You're up there trying to record this team play, and you're trying to find the ball. That's, if you're not on top of your game, I mean, I can't imagine what it is at ground level. And
I gotta wonder.
Do you have any stats on their running back from Lapeer? I don't see him. I don't see him listed anywhere.
I didn't see any stats
during the roundup.
That game. I didn't see any stats from McKenna.
They struggled. They struggled right out of the gate.
Yeah, they struggled right out the gate. I mean, but when you look at Adams, obviously, the offense that they run, the Veer, you know what I mean? I wonder. ONTV camera operators when playing Adams, you know what I mean? Make sure, you know what I mean, you're getting everything on him.
Yeah.
That Veer offense is not an easy offense.
No, it isn't. It's different. And we don't want to make it sound like, it's the greatest offense on the planet. It has its
illusion offense.
It has its problems, right? But Adams runs it perfectly.
Yes.
Or I shouldn't say perfectly because their coach is like, oh, come on.
Tony Petrino,
we know
what he likes to do.
They run it very, very well.
Yes, they do.
And if you can, and you're not ready for it, it can cause problems.
Absolutely.
It's like when you have a spread offense with the personnel in those positions that you need for the spread.
Yes.
Very difficult to defend.
Yes. That's what it is.
But wow.
But I didn't think Lapeer expected, to go in and give 42 to an Adams team that we know.
No.
Adams is very good. You know what I mean? That's not a question there. I think to me what's really been impressive has been the play of Logan Patera last few weeks. I know Sharon Town, Parker Pico, a quarterback, just been playing really outstanding football.
They're clicking.
They're clicking. And they don't even need to throw the ball.
No.
And you have options there if they want to throw the ball. Brady Priestcorn obviously at wide receiver.
And we've seen them do it when they have to, right?
Yes. You know what I mean? And all they did was run against Lapeer. That's all they did.
And I don't want to get into I want to because this is fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oxford, Adams are next. Pluses, strengths versus weaknesses and stuff like that. This is going to be an interesting matchup.
Very interesting matchup.
We already saw what Oxford did to a high-powered running attack.
A team that's fearless going against a team that runs severe.
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting.
But Oxford has shown that they can stop a high-powered running game.
They have proven that. They have.
Maybe it's going to be an error. Air attack on Adams. Who knows?
Who knows? See what
fun
the
stuff.
Fun
stuff. Yeah, but that was good for Adams. Way to go, Highlanders, man. Keep rolling.
And now we got West Bloomfield and Novi. This was the game I was at.
Okay. So you were invited to the game,
I was invited to the game. I got to thank Mr. Kenneth Jones's father for inviting me over, and the West Bloomfield Athletic Department for inviting me over.
Yep.
And
we appreciate him tuning in to watch.
Yes.
I think it's him and my mom that tune in, or my dad.
Nice.
I'm joking. But yeah, we appreciate the invitation, having you in, and your experience there. So when I look at it on paper, It looked like a blowout.
It's on paper, it's a blowout, but what
did you see?
I saw was a game of lack of discipline and too many penalties. I mean, that's what I
West
saw.
Bloomfield.
For West Bloomfield. It was on both sides, but especially West Bloomfield.
Okay.
The problems that I saw with West Bloomfield are, after the play calls, after, they've had some holding calls. Extracurricular activities, you know what I mean? And then, of course, just the sportsmanship, you know what I mean? Like, I know a Novi kid got thrown out of that game. Their head coach got 15 yards.
Thrown out?
Yeah, their head coach didn't get thrown out, but our head coach got a 15-yard penalty. Novi offensive lineman got thrown out. And then to get
thrown out, you got to, you either punch somebody or you get 2 personal fouls, right?
And then,
wow.
That's the problem I have with West Bloomfield is their discipline and their discipline. That is the big problem I have with West Bloomfield. Because yes, we all know you're talented.
Yes.
We know you have one of the best players in the state in Dylan Tatum. We know Raekwon Nance, a very good player. Samaj Morgan as well. And even Kenneth Jones. I think Kenneth Jones, in my opinion, should be the Wildcat quarterback over Dylan Tatum. That's how I feel. And that says a lot, especially because I know Tatum's going to Michigan State next year. But I think Kenneth Jones is a much better option to run the Wildcat.
All right.
The issue I have with West Bloomfield is we mentioned penalties. They took so many extracurriculars.
And you were saying like you get
nuts.
A first down, 15
first
yards
down,
back.
15 yards back. You know what I mean? Or like a good play, penalty. You know what I mean? Extracurricular activity. I mean, like, so when you really look at it here, if you're Coach Terry Grice, you have to clean these penalties up if you want to go deep into the playoffs. You have to be more disciplined. That has been West Bloomfield's biggest problem this whole season has been penalties and discipline. And that's what it comes down to, is if this team wants to repeat as state champions, as Division I state champs, they have to clean up penalties. Now, on Novi's side of things, I thought, to be honest with you, I understand Novi trying to change offenses from like a wing tee to a spread. I know under Coach Jim Sparks coming over from Clawson.
Yeah.
But when you look at Novi, I was beyond baffled the fact that they ran their quarterback almost a lot in that game. They ran their quarterback a lot. Now, is it the fact that he doesn't have a lot of faith in his receivers, or is it he doesn't have a lot of faith?
They lined up in a spread, but just ran the quarterback.
They just ran the quarterback. You know what I mean? They just ran the quarterback. That's all they did.
Well, if you can't stop them, why stop? Or do you think I just see it as you're going to get him injured, or especially if it's 20 carries a game, 30 carries a game.
But then I wonder, you know what I mean?
Weather conditions too, Sam.
Weather conditions obviously were pretty bad, but still, obviously I know that defense is really good and all that, but they have to clean up the penalties, especially offensively.
For West Bloomfield.
Yeah. Novi lost their control in that game. I know their head coach got a 15-yard flag, and then a Novi offensive lineman got thrown out in that game. It was just crazy when it comes to sportsmanship.
And you don't see those sorts of things on the black and white paper, right?
You don't see it.
You just see a score, 39-3. And what was the first half?
It was 19-3. Besides the two
so it's still a game.
Besides the long 2 touchdown passes from Morgan to from Nance to Morgan. Obviously, the difference was, I thought Novi early on did a really good job against West Bloomfield's ground attack. They shut down Tatum. They shut down Jones for a time, and then they shut down Nance for a time. But when they keep running, you know what I mean? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And and West Bloomfield wore them down, and basically you look at that score, that's what you get.
Yeah, and we know that. Novi Detroit Catholic Central 51, Bloomfield Hills 7. That's more Bloomfield Hills issues than CC being some juggernaut.
You want to know why I wrote that column a couple weeks ago? It's exactly.
Well, I was just messing with you. You like
Nah.
you I go, but the team's undefeated. What are you gonna do, right? I mean, you got to give them some sort of
You
props.
gotta give them props, sure.
I'm
but,
still waiting for you to do that.
But when you're playing against a team like nobody Detroit Catholic Central who's coming down there, and basically you only have 15 yards total offense in the first half,
Yeah.
and then you're down 45-0 at halftime. That's what's good. That's what was my main point of saying to you is if you're
blue, right?
I'm excluding Berkeley from this conversation.
Okay, we can get into Berkeley.
Yes, but I'm excluding.
So does this evolve the conversation to the next step? We're talking. Is this an indictment of the blue?
If you want to take the next step, you have to play a more tougher. You got to play tougher. You're not
tougher opponent.
Yeah, tougher opponent. You know what I mean? Like this year for them, Waterford for Bloomfield Hills, Waterford Kettering. They were 1-8 this year. 1-8. They said their struggles last year.
Yeah,
this year they had their struggles. I mean, and then you look at Troy, Valley Sports Detroit game against Chippewa Valley.
How is Oxford Clarkston not the game?
That's what I want.
That doesn't make sense. Or even
wonder,
Adams Lapeer.
Yeah, or makes me wonder. Even 2 weeks ago, when A&T and River Rouge was the game, and instead of having Troy Bloomfield Hills, I mean, but when you look at
what was Troy's record?
Troy's record was 8-1, and Chippewa Valley was 7-2. Chippewa Valley's losses were to CC, and and
we know the league
they're in, and Cypress Harris was shut down against Oxford, and he went off for 3 scores against Troy. Troy and Oxford are two different animals. Completely different animals.
Two different teams. The trajectory of one is still climbing. The ceiling has not been met.
Mm-hmm.
That's Oxford.
And then when you look at this game here, you gotta think. Okay, you gotta dig deeper into the stuff. You gotta dig deeper. You had to dig deeper, and you saw the dominance of the MAC Red against the OAA Blue that night. That described Chippewa Valley, Troy.
And that also goes to the seeding.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That goes to
because we know in the blue, I mean, a couple, like one team, like Berkeley, I know they didn't win the blue.
No.
But to me, they were the class of the blue.
To me, yes.
The consistency.
They're the consistency of the blue.
Even though they lost. Yeah, I know if you're a Troy fan, it's sort of going, what?
Yeah, Troy Blue Hills, like, what?
But they felt like the more sturdy of the three.
Berkeley, in their game with Waterford Mott, they were very competitive. That game with them could have went either way. That game with them could have went either way. We could be talking Berkeley versus Waterford Mott, Berkeley versus Wall Lake Western in the next round. I mean, Waterford Mott had to earn that game at Hurley against Berkeley. They had to earn that game. Whereas, when you look at Bloomfield Hills and Troy, where they're blowing out by a combined 84-7.
But what do you do? I mean, the blue is the blue. You can't.
And then it's
change
not
it.
Avondale getting slaughtered by Birmingham Brother Rice, 58-0.
Don't get me started about Avondale.
Mm-hmm.
We're always rooting for Avondale. Don't get me wrong. But them making the playoffs, I thought was a bit odd.
Yes. Well, Division III was not strong this year.
Well.
And we just found out
why. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Harper Woods' tough loss, 14-6 to
in overtime.
River Rouge. That was a really good game. That came down to a touchdown for Rouge, and then they now they're gonna be moving on to playing Detroit Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So now Harper Woods will be an official full-fledged member of the OAA starting next year.
Crazy.
So that'll be really interesting.
And you said, do you think they're going to be in the?
I think they'll be in the white next year.
In the white?
I think they'll be in the white. I mean, they're that. I think they can compete with teams in that division. But back to Troy Bloomfield Hills. I mean,
but where did they go?
Where did they go?
A lot of it, for me, a lot of it was the seeding. It was like, really? Like when you called, I said, yeah, Mac Red versus Blue. OAA Blue. You're like, come on.
Come on. I mean, here's the thing. Bloomfield Hills was the number 2 seed in that district behind West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield was the top seed in that district.
Yeah.
And then you look at Troy. Troy's the number 2 seed in their district. So I just don't understand the playoff system at times. When you're if you're truly rewarding strength of competition,
yes.
You know what I mean?
I was just going to say that, Sam.
You're truly rewarding strength of competition. I mean, you look at, okay, who have you been playing? I mean, you look at Lake Orion, Southfield Arts and Tech, Stony Creek, Rochester have all played Murder's Row with schedules, and then you look at Bloomfield Hills and Troy. Yes, Bloomfield Hills won a division this year. They won the blue. But playing somebody, playing to the the team.
But isn't the Blues crossover? I mean, what were their crossover matches?
The Blue really didn't have a crossover. They had an open date.
But it was the
Blue could choose.
But the white was crossing over with red.
Right. White was crossover with red.
Which, that's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole nother discussion. But I'm just saying to you is, when you look at the white, you know what I mean? When you look at the white, the white's got one team in the playoffs right now. That's Adams. And when you look at, of course, the Reds have to beat each other up. I mean, the Blue, in a 6-6-9, obviously, you have 8 league games and 1 open date. So it's important for those teams to choose who should be their open date. And if you're a team like, I know Farmington had to play North Farmington this year.
Which they would.
Berkeley played Livonia Clarenceville this year. That would end up being a really good game there. But when it comes to your competition, you know what I mean? Playing teams like a Dearborn Etzel Fort or Troy played, or playing a team like Bloomfield Hills, they have a lot for Kettering. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to get you. That's not going to get you battle tested for the postseason. That's not.
It'll get you a W.
It'll get you a W. But are you truly getting better?
Yeah.
That was the main reason why I wrote that article on Bloomfield Hills, and I know I got bashed by it. And that's the same thing with Troy. You know what I mean? Until you play somebody legit, that's going to be your answer. You look at Rochester last year, of course, yes, they won the blue and they have COVID shortened year, but when they played Adams, look what happened to them. They got crushed.
Yeah.
And then you look at the white this year for Rochester, they've improved. They truly belong in that division.
Yes.
And then you look at, obviously, a team like, I understand with Bloomfield Hills, the schedule is there. You have to play the teams that you're given.
Yes.
But the open date was something you could have done, and you could have played somebody better than Waterford Kettering.
Yeah, and is one game, though, going to put you over the top in the playoffs? No.
No, it's not. But if you played somebody who is tough, who's going to test you, that's where I get really upset with some of these teams. I mean, you look at Berkeley playing Livonia Clarenceville this year. That was a heck of a game between those two teams.
Yes.
You look at, obviously, Pontiac and Stockbridge this year. Pontiac was very competitive with Stockbridge.
Yes.
I mean, until you play somebody competitive, until you do, this is going to be the exact result.
Yeah. You've been consistent with this. We've talked about this for years. Mm-hmm. From basketball, I mean, a lot of it is, we talked mainly about it for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we see the same results.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it is. It's like, if you're king of the competition you're playing and the competition's down here,
mm-hmm.
and you're matched up with somebody who's on a higher plane than you, what do? I mean, the upsets happen, things happen, we've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen upsets happen,
but look, I mean, we're looking at it right here in black and white. It did not work. And not only did it not work, but
you got blown out.
They're getting rolled.
And I think, to me,
an undefeated team getting rolled like that. Wow.
And that's something that we got to look at. You know what I mean? If I'm the MHA Representative Council next year, you know what I mean? or if you do the playoff system like we did this year, you got to look at clearly the body of work, you know what I mean, of these teams. I mean, obviously, you got to
But you're
look
not
at
leaving
it.
an undefeated Bloomfield Hills out of the playoffs.
No,
Even
you're
though
not
they
leaving
play,
them-
they
you're
go, you
not
play
leaving them
Kettering,
out.
you're out.
You're not leaving out of the playoffs, no.
Right? I mean,
But if you're Coach Dan Lauria, if you're Bloomfield Hills administration, you got to basically say, okay, I've got a good team here. Play some. I want to play. I want to at least test myself. You can sacrifice the undefeated season.
Yeah.
I mean, at least play somebody like a Division I versus Division I. You look at Bloomfield Hills and Troy. Both those teams are Division I teams.
Yeah.
Troy Athens is there as well. But you look at obviously Berkeley, who's in Division II.
Yeah.
You look at obviously Avondale's Division III. I mean, you're taking advantage of the teams that are given to you. But if you're playing a D1 versus D1, obviously, if I'm Bloomfield Hills,
I think you get a better understanding of where you're at.
Yes. So that's my rant of the week.
Pretty solid rant there, Sam.
I'm trying to be accurate.
Yeah, your blood pressure hasn't gotten up in a number. You've been doing good.
I've been,
but I get it. And the whole point of this is we want to see these OAA teams successful in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're huge fans of these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want them to win. We want them to be competitive. We want
Mhm.
these kids to keep moving on through the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not really one to complain about, the structure of the playoff system and stuff. I don't care for it, but it is what it is, and you're living within these rules. You have to perform, right?
Right.
It stinks. We were tempted with a new, everybody got in last year,
Yeah, we were.
which I
tempted by
really
it.
liked. I go, but that doesn't even if we went back to last year's model, it wouldn't change what we have here.
No, it wouldn't change it. No, but it's still. I mean,
Maybe they get knocked out in the second round, right? Because isn't the way they would do it? They would take the last game of the year. That's the first game in the postseason or
Technically,
whatever.
but-
Technically,
but I'm just saying to you is,
but yeah,
when you look at Bloomfield Hills and Troy, having to see them play against nobody, Detroit Catholic Central or
I know.
Chippewa Valley. Oh,
I
that's
know
brutal.
it's a tough. It's
I mean, and Berkeley's
Tough
case
draw.
and in Berkeley's case of Waterford Mott, you know what I mean? That was a heck of a game between those two teams. And then Avondale getting blown up by Birmingham Brother Rice, we saw that coming. I know I don't want to get you started on that.
please don't.
I mean, but that was a disaster in the making there.
I mean, I would love to see. I mean, when you say it was a D3, right? You're saying
Yeah.
D3 was just a train wreck. I'd love to see that spreadsheet
Mm-hmm.
of the teams and who they played and what were the records and all this kind of stuff because, Avondale, we are fans of Avondale. We picked them early and they just kind of fizzled, right?
They struggled early.
Yeah,
and then
but we
snuck
thought they were going to
Yeah,
really
I thought
make
they
a
were gonna
statement.
make a stand, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden,
It didn't happen, and we knew there were some injuries and whatever.
yeah, the injury to Jake Herzog was really huge for them.
But they had a losing record,
Yeah, they had a losing record.
and
People would say Oxford, same thing, even though they went 5-4.
crazy,
But
crazy.
but when you look at Oxford and Avondale's strength of schedule is
Night and day.
Night and day. You know what I mean?
It's the Oxford schedule is exactly your point,
Mm-hmm.
but Avondale cannot control how the white division
How the blue.
or the blue is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
They can't,
No.
right? That's the league.
Yeah, that's the league they're in.
Do you think that it's
And I know,
I know,
there's
and they
te-
shuffle them. They're going to shuffle them again and all this kind of stuff. But you're
Mhm.
like, what do you do? I know we're not going to solve this in the next,
no.
22 minutes.
No,
or
we're not
whatever.
going to solve this. But I think personally, if I'm Coach Dan Lauria, or if I'm Coach Chris Frazier, and let's say if I'm in the blue next year, I have to really find some teams to toughen us up. Because if we're going to be playoff teams, if I'm Blueberry Hills, if I want to win my first ever playoff game, I would sacrifice the undefeated season and play somebody tough. I know undefeated seasons are really good.
Yeah.
But when you have to play somebody who is better than you are, then you have to really shore it up. You have to say, okay, how are we going to how are we going to like prepare like playing against a team like a Novi Detroit Catholic Central or a West Bloomfield?
Go play them.
Or a West Bloomfield or a Adams. Here's my solution to that. Play them.
Yep. Schedule them.
Play them. I mean, when you look at Troy, I mean, Dearborn Not So Ford isn't going to cut it. They're not going to cut it. So here's my suggestion to Troy. Play somebody, play a Division I rival. You know what I mean? There's teams, you could play there's teams up north you can play. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe even Rochester, Adams, or Stony. I mean, your arch rivals. I mean, play them.
Yeah.
Play them. I mean, like, you don't have to really, oh my.
I know. We covered this. We don't need to retread it again.
I don't need to retread it.
Let's do this. Let's change a little gears. Can we give some hype out there for some of these cross-country runners? Do you mind if I read some results?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're at 41 minutes. So I'll do this really quick, and then we'll do our picks, okay?
We got volleyball this week.
And volleyball, yeah, okay. So here we go. Region 9, a truckload of Lake Orion teams. Lake Orion, Clarkston, Oxford, Adams, and so on were there. Those are the teams that we've been keeping an eye on.
Region 9, yep.
Yep, in the Region 9. So in the Region 9, boys, Romeo takes it, the D1 title. Lake Orion was second with 52 points. Romeo had 32. Rochester, Stony Creek was fourth, so they miss out on taking their team to the state meet. But their sophomore, Chaz Huthwaite, makes it as an individual. Congratulations to him. And let's see what else on. Who else? Clarkston was fifth. Clarkston was fifth. Oxford was sixth overall in the region, and Rochester was 10th. So that was on the men's side. On the women's side, Oxford women really put on a show.
They're good.
With a lot of young runners on that team.
Young talent on that team.
Absolutely. So Oxford wins the women's regional with 73 points. Romeo was second at 102. Macomb Dakota was third at 117. Clarkston was fifth. Stony Creek sixth. Rochester seventh. Rochester Adams eighth. Lake Orion 10th. The big story was Rochester's Lucy Cook.
Mm-hmm.
This freshman, out of nowhere, we haven't seen her during the regular season, but we saw her in Invitational. I'm like, who is that at the Oakland County meet? Oakland County champion and regional champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the results here says the Macomb Dakota runner, Jaden Harberts, is number one in the listing, but I saw with my own eyes, she came in ahead of the field by like 25 seconds, and this is a star in the making. Lucy Cook, a freshman at Rochester, we need to keep an eye on. But also, Mallory Bigelow from Oxford. She was the dominant runner in the OAA Red all season long and proved it once again, coming in fourth overall in the region. And out of nowhere, Alexandra Brigham from Clarkston. A good showing for her. She finished third in the region. So Oxford women move on. Romeo and Macomb Dakota move on for the women. Everybody else stays home. Let me see in the top 10.
Troy actually had a really nice one in their region.
Did they?
Yeah, their boys and girls are moving on to the state finals. Royal Oak women had a really nice one as well.
Very good.
They're moving on into the state.
So you may know this, and I don't want to take too much time because we got to get to our picks, but MHSA changed the rules on qualifications. Usually it's top 10, right?
Right.
And so, but they removed, like, let's say Oxford won with 73 points or Romeo with 32. That means they had the top three and then all these extra guys.
Mm-hmm.
But there was only so many slots for top 10. But let's say Romeo has 5 in the top 10.
Right.
Those 5 are now moved into just one.
Just the team.
They are team qualified.
Okay.
So it opens up more slots for individuals to qualify. I thought it was a great change.
That was a great change there.
Right, for the postseason, for the runners. More kids get to go, more get to qualify, which is good. So I think state meet is this Saturday, and we'll have the results of that. So
and then, of course, soccer, we had Troy get beat by New Baltimore Anchor Bay.
Did they?
Yes, and then Clarkson lost to Northville. How they lost was a really bad goal they gave up.
Uh-oh.
I mean,
But it happens. That's soccer, man.
I know it happens. It's soccer, so there's no OA teams left there.
All right, it's 45. We got just under 15 minutes.
Ooh.
So we have some time. But
I know.
Not a lot of time, but we have some time.
We got 2 games we're going to preview more in depth this week, obviously.
Yes.
Let's talk our first one. It's going to be at the Swamp. We got Novi, Detroit Catholic Central taking on West Bloomfield.
Is Detroit CC's offense that good?
Are they that good? And can West Bloomfield
Keep it together.
Keep it together.
Keep that yellow flag in the pocket.
Yep. And I think that's a big question when you look at this game. Now, I don't know if we had the real CC offense. You know what I mean? Considering Bloomfield Hills was...
Because, you said, it was quarterback keeper.
Yeah.
Right? They run a spread, right? You said they spread them out.
Well, that was now CC. We know what they're more traditional of. They're more of a traditional power.
Are they? Okay.
They can spread you out as well.
Okay.
Now you were thinking Novi.
Yeah, my mistake.
Yeah, you were thinking Novi. And then when you look at West Bloomfield, the RPO, obviously with them,
which is difficult. They run it well.
They run it very well.
Yes.
Especially with Raekwon Nance, sophomore quarterback.
You have athletes coming out your
athletes
ears.
Everywhere. Yep.
Experience.
Dylan Tame did not play much in that game against Novi. Didn't need to. But I thought Kenneth Jones he is a much.
You said he's key. He should be the key.
He should be the key on the Wildcat formation that they run. He should be the one that I would trust him more than Tatum in the Wildcat formation.
Why is that?
Because. Remember, let's not forget last year they had Donovan Edwards who ran the Wildcats.
Yes.
With Tatum, I know he's being more recruited to be in the backfield under Mel Tucker, Michigan State. Kenneth Jones is can be a true actual running back. He doesn't really play much on defense. So you can use him more and I've seen him throw. He's a really good thrower, really efficient player.
So
I would trust him. Versatile.
Yeah.
I think, and I know Tatum also plays defense as well. But for me, if I had to trust versatility right now, I would take Jones. And that's no offense, you know what I mean? I understand the looks. I know that. But I just look at that.
You think their best bet would having Jones back there
instead of Tatum.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot. And I really think that when you look at going against CC, Novi Detroit Catholic Central was only flagged 5 times in that game against Bloomfield Hills. Now, if you're West Bloomfield, you have got to clean up the penalties. And I am not saying that because I'm bashing you. I'm pleading with you. Clean them up. Because
your margins for error is shrinking.
It's shrinking. Because CC is a much different animal than Novi is. So when you really look at this matchup, if you're not disciplined and you can't clean up the mistakes, you're asking for trouble. And when I look at West Bloomfield, obviously you got Raekwon Nance to him, Samaj Morgan. That tandem is pretty much set. You pretty much got the you can use both Jones and Tatum at the same time. A lot of people are going to be paying more attention to Tatum than Jones because of the notoriety. So when you look at this game, it's going to come down to the battle of trenches. I do trust Amir Herring. I do trust Brandon Davis Swan. I do trust Michael Williams. But against CC, you're going to have to really shore some things up. And the stats don't lie. And if West Bloomfield does not clean up the penalties, they are going home. And
if they have a penalty-filled game similar to what they had last week, they're going home.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Because, we look at the roundup, and sometimes, that blowout is not black and white.
Yeah.
So if I'm West Bloomfield, I stop with the temper tantrums. I stop with the chirping. I stop that right now. Because if that happens and you have a strong officiating crew there, they're going to flag you.
It's true.
They're going to flag you. So
you get a referee that had a bad day, and you don't want to bring them into it.
Correct.
Right? You want to play the game,
Just
get it
play
done.
your style.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the guys in the black and white.
We want to just play your style. You play your style, you're going to be fine. That's my call out to West Bloomfield this week.
Okay.
I know we have calls on BT all the time.
Haven't done those in a while.
No, but that's my call out to West Bloomfield.
But that's a legitimate concern, right? I mean, you have to watch out. Penalties on any level is you got to watch out.
Yes, and West
because
Bloomfield,
they kill drives.
They kill drives. They kill momentum.
They can remove players from activity, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so if that's the case, what do we got?
You know
what are you looking at here? West Bloomfield, CC, what do we got?
In this game.
Is this going to be in the 30s?
I think this is going to be
20s?
High 20s. I think West Bloomfield wins this one by a field goal.
Oh.
I just think that they're going to find a way in this game. They clean up the penalties. They don't kill themselves. They're self-inflicted wounds. I mean, that's the thing. If West Bloomfield plays mistake-free, they're going to win this game, I think, by 10 points. But I just don't see that happening. It's going to be 3 points.
Okay.
Who do you got?
See, I haven't seen CC or anything on it, but I do know that going into the swamp is no pleasure cruise for anyone.
No.
Even if West Bloomfield is having problems and things like that, it is so difficult to win there. And I agree with you. I think they know they dodged, not that they dodged one. I mean, 139-3, but the staff knows what it takes to win and to get to the next round and beyond. I think West Bloomfield tidies up their mess. They get a little more focused, and they take a W. I think it's going to be 10 points, though.
Okay. And then we got Oxford Adams.
See, this is my jam right here. This is the game. This is the one that makes me
Fearless
go, yes.
versus Veer.
This is the
Fearless versus Veer. You know? Whew.
Run heavy versus can you stop anything? Right? I mean, it is. What's Oxford's strength? They show that they can shut down a run.
Yes.
They can make you one-dimensional.
Yes.
If they make Adams one-dimensional, not in their favor, on the ground.
But the Veer's a hard offensive stop.
It is, but I'm looking at the improvement the Wildcats are making and the adjustments they are making. They went into Clarkston and plugged the holes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, they moved the ball. I'm not saying they're going to have 0 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they contain your attack on the ground,
right?
Do you have an alternative?
Adams does have an alternative. Yes, they do. I mean, Pico can throw it to pre-scoring. I mean, they have alternatives. They can throw it to pre-scoring. I mean, they can use their backs and use them. You know what I mean? They can use the running game in a passing game, make it more of a screen game. You know what I mean? I mean, the Veer gives you so many different illusions. When you look at Adams, I mean, we didn't talk Brady pre-scoring. I mean, we didn't talk, but this is Oxford here. I mean, this is the Wildcats. I mean, I think when you look at this game here on paper.
They've already played.
It
was a close game.
It was 24-10. This game was close than the score indicated.
Yes.
So when you look at this game here on paper.
Oxford makes adjustments.
They could pull this off.
Yes, they can.
I said Oxford beat Clarkson last week, and they did beat Clarkson last week. When I look at Adams,
I didn't think Oxford could shut down
Ethan Clark or Mike DePillo.
No, I didn't think they could shut down that running attack. I was stunned.
I just couldn't believe it.
But it goes for what we're talking about. I mean, they're a team that is playing downhill, man. There is momentum at their back, and like you said, no fear.
They can beat you in so many different ways. That team has basically just went through the gods of all schedule. Good Lord.
The gauntlet. Yeah, and they came out the other side
better.
Yes. I mean, they are battle tested. I mean, they've been in playoff mode for the last 5 weeks.
Yes. And they've beaten proven teams in the red. They beat a MAC red opponent. They beat a white opponent. I mean, now you're taking on, and then you just knocked off a Saginaw Valley opponent. You know what I mean? And now you're playing the white champs in Adams. So when you look at this game here on paper, I mean, like, everybody says Adams in a mismatch. I don't think so. Because when you look at Adams, you know, Oxford's experience is huge in this game.
Yeah.
Experience, senior experience, battle-tested, you know, but there's something about the veer. You know, there's always something about that option offense, the veer option offense. There always is. So when you look at this game on paper, you just got to say, okay, how would you, if Oxford can play smart defense, stout defense, I think they're going to upset Oxford. Don't be surprised if this game.
I'll say that again.
Don't be surprised if they beat Oxford.
Adams beats Oxford.
Don't be surprised. But here's the thing. Don't be surprised if this game's high 30s in this game.
Oh.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think it's going to be high 30s because I don't think either defense is going to stop the other.
Really?
I think this has got shootout potential.
Is this going to be the last one with the ball's going to win?
I do.
Because, I mean, the ground attacks for both teams are solid, and it's, I mean, this is going to be a short game.
Yeah.
If they get their ways, this will be the clock will be running all the time.
Right.
So who do you have? Who do you got?
I am going.
You flipping the coin, Sammy?
I am going until. I'm going.
You're going my way, aren't you?
I'm going the veer. I'm going Adams.
See, you're going to say until I see somebody do it, I'm picking the guy who's gotten it done. Is that how?
I've gotten the job done. I'm not being mean here.
No, but I mean, Adams obviously has been doing it all year,
Adams
right?
been doing it all year.
That's kind of like what I say about Clarkson usually.
Right.
So I'm picking Clarkson until you show me.
I think Brady Prescorn is huge in this game. I think he's going to have a big day against Oxford because I know Oxford's run defense is really good. Their passing defense a little suspect a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to take, and until I think it's going to be Parker Pico's arm throwing it to Brody Prescorn. I think Prescorn has a big day in this one. I think Adams barely over Oxford. I'm going to say 38-35.
3 points. See, I'm leaning one way, then I lean the other. I would have taken Adams all day until what happened last Friday. I'm picking Oxford. And I think the score is going to be roughly the same. I mean, if it's over 7 points either way, I would be very, very surprised. So yeah, I'm taking the Wildcats.
That's going to be a heck of a game.
It's going to be, yes, and it's going to be a late score. I think it's going to be a come from behinder.
Who do you think's getting it, Vaccaro or Carpenter?
They're going to do it on the ground. You're going to
go Vaccaro?
Yeah, he's going to add to that legend up there that he just wrote last Friday. He's going to have the last chapter put in there, at least the next chapter, I should say. I think they're going to go on the ground. It's going to be a late rushing score. Oxford takes it from behind.
Good grief!
You think they're going through the air?
I think they're going to go through the air. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Obviously, we're going to see what happens, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah. Volleyball districts, you want to take a look at them? They're on my blog at SammyTaormina.blogspot.com. You want to take a look at them? I have my projections and everything else there for them as well. All right, everybody, wish you best of luck. Wish everybody the best of luck in the state finals this weekend for cross country. Also, best of luck at West Bloomfield and Rochester Adams this weekend for football playoffs. We'll see what happens going forward. Sammy Taormina here. I'm going to sign off. Take care. God bless, and see y'all next week, everybody.
See you, Sam. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Taormina, and the views on this show are his and mine alone. If you'd like to make your own podcast, give Owen TV a call at 248-393-1060. We are now enrolling. What? That's it for this edition of OAA Now. We'll see you next week. See ya.